I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like. All right, we back. We back. We'll uh yeah, black capitalism got us. And so what I'll probably have to do is although it looks like the previous stream is still up, but I may have to repost it um minus the part that they cut out. I'm not sure if they're going to leave that up there, but and we don't have to keep going too long, but I just didn't want to end on I want to end on my terms. So, I just uh make a few more points, and then I'll check the chat for any questions or comments, but I think yeah, we'll see if it gets left up there. But that was wild. So in many ways, they did us a favor because I get it. There was some collective suffering going on, and that's why we can't watch it by ourselves. You gotta watch these things as collectives, and they didn't want us to. So I get it. I get it. And we'll but it looks like they left it up at least for now. So anyway, the point I was getting at though is that Maggie Anderson, I kind of wish I could see more of it. Maybe I'll go back and watch. I don't know. Maybe not. But I'm glad she was in it in the sense that and again, I'll make the links available. But her work around my black year or our black year and buying black, and her argument of very recently that or her recently made argument again that it was that Dr. King knew how important buying black was and how important the black entrepreneurial class was to the freedom struggle, when he said the exact opposite. He said the exact opposite. He said the black bourgeoisie was not living up to its purported role and were taking all the benefits of the movement, and said that buying black was insufficient. And that massive federal overhaul was required. And that's sort of the point I was going to make when the stream got cut, was that oh yeah, so that's what happened. Yeah, right on. You can't stop this. So what happened? So I'm sorry. So what happened was there was a violation. YouTube violated the last stream. So what I'm assuming it was a copyright over playing that video, streaming that video, and then they already put the yellow limited to no ads running on that video, which is again why we definitely need you to click all those buttons and bells and support in any way you can, because the ad revenue is severely cut on most of our videos. Most of them, a good number of them at least, get minimal monetization, but and then of course we were at almost really almost at 200, about 170 to 200 people in the live stream before, and now we're down significantly less. So that stuff does right on, that stuff does impact their ability to violate. But of course I'm not mad. I mean, from their perspective I get it, because we are doing something that's definitely not intended with the with that video, but in any event, it was fun for me at least to see a little bit of Maggie Anderson, sort of live. Most of my interaction is just reading transcripts, reading her book and reading transcripts of her speeches, which are just in terms of messaging horrific. But I get it, especially, and this is something that is always appealing, especially to audiences that are not, situated or properly prepared for the messaging. That, of course, everybody wants to live well, and of course, everybody wants or most Black people want to live around some form of Black people. But so when you hear that messaging, a lot of people would identify with that. Of course, we get it, but the question being raised, as was Dr. King, if she and others are going to continue to evoke the name, is that wouldn't it be better to live in a world, sort of the point I was making about previously about the Peebles character? Wouldn't it be better to we advocate and create a world where that level of competition is not necessary, where everyone can live well and enjoy the fruits of all of our labor and this advanced technological society we've all contributed to? Like that would, but the constantly reinforced messaging or messages are implicit, often is the case, as was the case here. Don't organize politically, don't think radically, consider revolution, as we were talking about with Dr. Amina, as Black entrepreneurialism and Black banking. Consider the individual success of a 1% who, as was correctly said, are 1% of the 1%. Consider that as a collective success story for the 99% of the Black community who can't get there. That's what's implicit in all of that messaging. And then it does become a protective shield when these Black people can say, but they want to be around other Black people and they want, of course, live well, and they can put their pretty daughters on camera and say they want to start businesses. And I mean, it's hard. It's hard to be a pro-community critic of that message. It becomes that much like we were arguing years ago with my former colleague around the Mantan Manifesto, that becomes the protective shield against critique from within the community, in particularly from the left. Anyway, and it fits perfectly within what was going on with the messaging, as we were talking about with the banker. So yeah, it is the ghost of Margaret Walker and this whole Black millionaire by selling products to other Black people in the community, whether it's good for them or not, psychologically, physically, or otherwise, is irrelevant. And then, of course, it becomes the one person. They become the 1%. Yeah, we just need Black crypto, and that's. I just was watching before I started this morning's show the CoffeeZilla debate stream he had about SafeMoon, and put in our context, even from the perspective of a white largely pro-capitalist, pro-investment perspective, he's saying, he doesn't say this, he's not saying this, but from our context, CoffeeZilla is saying even white folks can't expect collective improvement from any of this stuff. His whole thing about the SafeMoon coin being a scam, he exposed the scam, and he's debating other white defenders of that scam and showing them you're being scammed, and they're saying, nah, bro, you got to give it time, bro. I mean, it's fascinating to watch. And then I'm sitting there saying, wow. And then we get a Blacker version of that, or we get the Black argument for that. They just add on the King and the Garvey references and the civil rights symbolism, and then they put up their beautiful Black families and do the same thing. And then a couple of us, I'm doing my I guess in this context, my version of CoffeeZilla, and people are saying, nah, bro, you just don't know, you don't understand the economy, you just don't get it. And then they're off at a conference with Peter Thiel. That was another thing, by the way. In fact, let's do that. That was another thing I had up there. Let's get one more thing. I got a couple minutes. It's still time. So let's do that. I'll pull up this other thing. Let's watch this together. I haven't. But yeah, so I might as well just do this while we're here. Let's do this. Let's do this one. Where did I put it? Is it here? Oh no, I did actually watch that. So we wouldn't be doing that as a not by myself. I watched the Peter Thiel Bitcoin keynote speech from Bitcoin conference of this year's Bitcoin conference. It was actually kind of boring. I don't need to play that one. My bad. I don't need to play that. It wasn't even revealing. It was just kind of boring. And it's him saying that, you know, everything is going to be great with Bitcoin. But we could watch some of this one. This was the let me just pull this one up here, because this was because remember when in Isaiah Jackson's book they had Max Keiser saying if Black people had invested in Bitcoin when he told us to in 2011, we would own white America by now. So let's see what because this is titled Bitcoin is FU money.
This session's called Fuck You Money. What's the point of that? Exactly. What's the point of having fuck you money if you can't say fuck you occasionally? We should have had 4 chairs. Unfortunately, Dave Portney can't join us. Fuck you, Dave. Anyway.
Oh, that's a lot of F-bombs.
Firstly,
let me just
bring
move
out
this.
Francis.
Let me just get this guy here.
We're
here we
into
go.
an age of the cancel culture. Adam, to you, it seems as though we're breaking out of the age of cancel culture. You've got now Elon buying into Twitter. You've got Louis C.K. just won an award at the Grammys. Yeah. So are we getting out of the cancel culture age, and is Bitcoin part of that?
Well, you mentioned 2 centralized things, Twitter and the Grammys, so I don't know if that can be considered a breakout. I would also like to remind people about a year ago, Elon did some kind of weird shit with Bitcoin. Wasn't very helpful at the time, so I don't know why people would be so excited about him fixing Twitter. Activity pubs, lots of decentralized services people are using. But podcasting, Dave Jones and I saw almost 3 years ago when Apple started deplatforming podcasts, that they were no longer a good steward of podcasting, which was always designed to be decentralized by design, and you don't need any service to be a podcaster, and they were kind of capturing that. So we created podcastindex.org, completely independent. It's also distributed. There's thousands of copies of the entire database. So that stopped the deplatforming from podcasting, as there's now 15 new apps, newpodcastapps.com. We needed to go to the next piece.
So this guy was an MTV VJ at one point. I didn't know that.
People are getting deplatformed off of PayPal, off of Patreon.
Oh, this is the same Adam Curry from MTV?
I wouldn't cheer too much for Russians having their boats and planes and apartments taken away, because it's Russians today. There'll be other rich people next, and then there'll be less rich people.
Right.
So we designed value for value streaming payments on podcasting. And so you literally, while you're listening to a podcast, you can send any amount of Satoshis to that podcaster in real time, wallet to wallet, peer to peer, no middleman. We're doing about 70,000 transactions a month now. We're seeing over 1.5 million Satoshis flowing through the system a day, 6,000 podcasts. So I would say we're well on our way to
and who's the brother there?
Stopping any form of cancel culture as it comes to literal free speech in podcasting.
Okay, so wait a minute. So this is important actually. So because this is okay, because I'm actually having to write about this. So this is helpful for me selfishly. But listen to the messaging. Adam Curry from MTV VJ fame back in the day when some of us were younger, and he's saying, look, there's a centralization problem. I think he's right about, he was headed in the right direction, I think, at least in terms of what he was saying about Elon Musk and Twitter, that these are centralized, they've become centralized platforms, and Elon Musk is no, free speech savior, and podcasting had become a centralized platform, and which is ripping off artists. But so the solution to the inequality is, again, not redistribution, not political power, but the use of Bitcoins and Satoshis. And this is where, obviously, why he's at the conference and where you lose people like me. So, because what he's also missing, as we've shown, is that the all those transactions that he was describing and people sending Satoshis back and forth to help one or another artist are going to, that is, first of all, largely benefiting the exchanges on which, or the platforms through which those exchanges take place, Bitfinex, Coinbase in particular. It also is not an answer to the redistribution issue. So the use of, again, the use of a Satoshi or even a full Bitcoin whose value is still based on the US dollar or based on its ability to be of value beyond the exchange, in this case for a podcast or for music, is that arguing that that is a solution to the inequality is fantastical to me, and unsupported. It doesn't redistribute wealth. So if I go and take my US dollars and buy Satoshis whose value is based on the US dollar and its ability to be adopted and used as currency somewhere else, or its ability to be inflated in my hope that someone else will invest in the greater fool theory behind me and raise the value of what I have bought. But then if I use it to buy a podcast or a song, how does that add wealth to anybody versus whether I did that with $1 or used a digital transfer of $1? That's the
right on.
all right.
A lot of people are in this, by the way. A lot of people
How am I
have been working
fronting?
on this.
Right. So
What did I miss? How am I fronting?
That sounds fantastic. Now, Francis, let's talk about Cameroon, where you're from. And,
Cameroon.
Africa.
From Africa, and you've got the Bitcoin revolution is enabling all kinds of people to, I guess you could say, escape the fiat money, escape a lot of things that have been going for quite some time. How do you?
Which would be my point. It's as good as the US dollar, which is not good at all.
I do believe in
it doesn't
Bitcoin, and I
redistribute
think
anything.
this could be a future of the finance and trading in Africa. You know, because we have we have a lot of problem of transaction of trading based on our currency, which is always backed up by some different country, European country, and
France.
Let's
just call it. Yeah,
yes,
right.
Because there's
So
14 countries.
They control the money, right?
Yes, there's 14 countries in Africa who doesn't have like their own currency.
So
They
France
just,
controls
use
the money
French
in Africa.
French just
But look at
take their
this.
money and be the guarantee. You know, so their money is not backed up by gold, even though if it was, the thing is like you can do a
Sign up
transaction
with
gold
Coinbase and
easily.
manage your crypto
You need
easily
to
and securely,
move,
now available
to
in
carry a
Cameroon and
gold
100
and
plus
then
countries
travel
around the
somewhere,
world.
go to give it to somebody physically. But now with a Bitcoin, you can sit at home and pay your supplier wherever is it. You know, so that's why I think this is going to be a very good
So
thing.
he's saying the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing. They want to replace France with Coinbase. And that's somehow an improvement. This is the same kind of argument that I'm glad at least Curry was right on about Elon Musk, that you want to replace a bad or poorly run company with a single owner and free speech leading beneficent dictator. I mean, that
Soon, as long as you have your Bitcoin in your wallet, you can send it to whoever you want, whenever you want, sitting from your couch.
and then
or
look, how
laying
to
on
buy
your
Bitcoin in
bed or whatever.
Cameroon.
Right, and these
And right
countries
away.
in Africa, just to trade with each other, it's enormously difficult. And so Bitcoin allows for inter-country African trade quite easily, correct?
But it
Yeah.
doesn't create wealth for those African countries. So even if you could, so being able to trade on Bitcoin without the interference of a Western bank is only as good as far as you have Bitcoin or cryptocurrency and can use it in your country, which most people cannot. But again, most popular Bitcoin exchanges in Cameroon, the number one is Binance. Sorry, not Bitfinex, Binance. That's the one I keep meaning to talk. Is Binance, Kraken, Oh, it didn't keep listing them. My bad. It's the same exchanges owned by the same handful of billionaires. Anyway, let me just.
Yes, just to trade between this country is very difficult because they make sure, France make sure to divide those countries pretty good to conquer. You know, like we have the Central Africa, they use franc CFA. The West Africa use franc CFA, who has the same value, but it's different money. We cannot use the same our Central
different
Africa
country,
money
right,
in
right,
West Africa, and West Africa cannot use their own in
Man, you're
Central
almost,
Africa.
you're almost as messed up as the rest of the world.
Oh, I think we are more messed up. You know,
Yeah.
we are very messed up. So our currency is not even recognized in
In the
IMF.
country. Oh,
Yeah.
right.
So every transaction has to go to France. So it's not only centralizing one country, but it's centralizing almost the entire continent.
Okay, so he's saying to get by. Okay, let me just clarify what I was just saying there. To get around the centralization of France in African economic dealings, the argument is let's move to cryptocurrency and break free of France and other colonial. Okay, so here is a quick list according to CoinMarketCap, which is, I believe, one of the biggest or most used industry rags for cryptocurrency. Here are the top cryptocurrency exchanges based on volume. Number one is Binance, which is what he was just talking, which I was just showing you is the best place to get is the best way to exchange crypto in Cameroon. Coinbase is third. Kraken was on that list. They're fourth. Bitfinex, who I mentioned earlier, is down there at fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. All right. So we're saying we're going to get rid of France and we're going to replace it with Binance. It even almost rhymes. And again, these are privately owned exchanges creating billionaires, individual billionaires, some of the richest people in the world. I think the owner of Binance was, what was it we were looking at, was like 98 billion now or something like that. That Asian dude. That's what's happening. And then the dude who owns Coinbase, what's his name? Was he a Texan or something like that? The American guy, white dude from the United States, made almost 600 million just during the pandemic. Anyway.
No one really talks about that, but it's kind of weird that France controls the money of 14 African countries.
People trying to talk.
Weird, huh?
But all the time they get shut up. You know, they make.
All right. Well, meanwhile, in Europe, the EU and the International Monetary Fund, you know, they are.
And like my man Senfo used to tell me, Cameroon is what the
suggesting
Portuguese word
Christine Lagarde was saying
for
it's an
shrimp.
escape hatch.
They're named
People
after
use,
shrimp.
Bitcoin, they won't be under the auspices of this fiat money world. But of course, that's not a bug. That's a feature. That's a good thing that we are escaping IMF and these other organizations. But Adam, you know, this is opening up something of a culture war because it seems like the pushback from the institutions is to double down on, I guess you could call it cultural Marxism. This kind of liberal orthodoxy where private ownership is condemned. And
so these are just Fox talking points. This is why I'm saying. So they're saying I shouldn't listen to Marx, but they should listen to Max.
Decades, going all the way back to the MTV days. Would you say that's a fair characterization? And where would you put us on that scale of getting as close as possible now to a Maoist cultural revolution, which is what we're having now in America?
A Maoist cultural revolution is what's happening.
Fuck you money, because the meaning has changed. Back in the MTV days, rock and roll days, everybody got a Rolex. I got fuck you money. Today, I got money that I can send to you and no one can touch. That's real fuck you money. I got money that you can send to me and I can receive. That's fuck you money. If it's one Satoshi, it doesn't matter.
Okay, so there's the myth right there. That's nonsense. And it's even distorting the phrase fuck you money. It's even unfair to the phrase. The whole concept of fuck you money was I have so much money that I don't have to listen to you and I could say fuck you and leave. That was the whole point. It's not being able to send 5 cents that I have and give it to you without them knowing it. Because that's what a Satoshi is. What is it? One, I don't even, I'll look it up in a second.
The next thing we need to understand,
and most importantly, money that nobody decide on the value of your money. You know, the money that
they can't change it overnight.
Yeah, they can't change overnight.
Right on.
Did he just say cryptocurrency's value can't change overnight?
Inflection.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, exactly.
He appreciates. And I think this is like the best version of fuck you money.
So there's one other thing that we need to understand. In the old culture, it has always been who has the biggest audience, the most listeners, the most likes, the most followers. This is fucking irrelevant. What is relevant is the audience or community that you collect around you. And that can be a podcast. But now in Texas, we have the Beef Initiative. So we're connecting retailers and just human beings with ranchers. So, you know, you get to know your rancher. You get your beef directly from the rancher. You pay the rancher in Bitcoin. We're doing it with vegetables. We're doing it with
Why can't this be done?
So we're building networks that are
cryptocurrency doesn't create that
connected through
farm
Bitcoin.
to table
And
relationship.
so when you, as my example, podcasting, I don't need millions and millions of listeners. I need to pay rent, and I need to communicate with the audience and say, do you like this? What is the show worth to you? Send that value to me so I can keep going. And that's where we have to let go. You know, Andy Warhol's dream came true, or his vision.
And again, how does that redistribute money?
Now everyone's getting deplatformed. He could have probably predicted that. So it's more important that you build your own community.
Or wealth.
It is, by the way, the only way you will get out of the coming collapse is Bitcoin and your community.
Right. You talk about entertainment industry and economy at large. That's driven by the entertainment industry, where ratings are king. It's a ratings-driven economy. And that's true also in the fiat money world. If I have a lot of fiat money, I can go to Washington and I can buy a senator. I can buy a congressman. It's incredibly corrupt. It happens every single day.
But you can't do that with Bitcoin.
With Bitcoin, that's not the case. If
I have a node, therefore I have a vote.
You have a node, you have a vote.
What?
So that will fundamentally change not only politics and finance, but the way you find ourselves, even as human beings, communicating with each other and how we would evolve, you know, you could say, into the future. Do you see that happening where you've got almost an evolutionary step change?
Yes. Oh, yes. It's and this is exactly what I'm talking about. When you meet someone, when that person says, I'm a Bitcoiner, we play by a lot of the same rules. I don't care where you're from. We've never met before. We have a connection. Why? Because we're Bitcoiners. That's deep, and it's philosophical. I'm not quite sure how it works in the brain.
Community.
It's a community, and it's a global community. And I was walking through the hall, and someone stopped me. You know, and like, I know immediately who this person, what they're about, to a certain degree. That's very cultural. That's crazy cultural in the scope of certainly entertainment. You know, what people talk about or what connects them. And I think that's
he said
a
if
big thing that we need to recognize.
This is crazy.
So with Francis, you know, in the last 20, 30 years, we lived in a world where the United States culture is dominant around the world. In other cultures, African cultures, Asian cultures have been a secondary to the pervasive American culture. With Bitcoin becoming a world reserve currency, do you see an opportunity not only for these economies to improve, but for these cultures in Africa to become more global and have greater reach and to be more prevalent?
Obviously, I mean, with Bitcoin first, is every country gonna have a currency that is easy to deal with, to do business with. You know, there is a lot of business. For example, in Africa, we wanted to do a business with a company here, but the problem is the transaction. How
That's not the problem.
It's pain in the ass, how they say, you know, and one of the
Man, this is a mess.
upsides of Bitcoin, which is very important in Africa, in America, and all around the world. Not many people face those challenges, but you have to understand that in Africa, 70% of people, they don't even have bank account. They can't even have bank account because they don't have enough money. Their revenue is not enough to
Again, how
pay
does Bitcoin
fees
solve
on
the
their
money issue, the
bank
absence of
account.
money issue,
And when
or
you
the
go
lack
to
of money
the
issue?
bank in Africa to open a bank account, you have to prove certain revenue, and you have to be approved by the bank to have a bank account. So many people, they don't even try because even the fees for those for those account is more for them. I mean, it's like what they can feed their family with in 1 week. So they don't do that. But with Bitcoin, it's something that everybody can do. You don't need somebody approval. You go on your phone, download your app, put your money, and then just start to trade. And you have a bank account. You have something that you can buy on internet, do your e-market, everything without somebody controlling your money or charging you for fees, or you don't need somebody blessing to have the account on something.
So we all heard that, right? So the solution to a lack of money and a business is to deregulate entry, allow anyone into the casino, make it as easy as possible for you to go in to buy your cryptocurrency, start trading, and lose all your money. So that's the solution.
Thing like Bitcoin, is a life changing. You can see like with a digital all those digital platform coming, a lot of artists now has a opportunity because they don't need like a label to
I saw that too.
produce them.
Where Michael
so
Hudson, I
it's
saw
those
that
kind of
too.
opportunity that Bitcoin is bringing too.
Yeah,
In
that's
fact,
what
we
I
actually
wanted
talked
to
about
touch
it
on.
here.
So,
Yeah.
the American hegemony is this cultural. What I love when they opened up Euro Disney in France, the French press referred to it as a cultural Chernobyl.
But if Max doesn't own any Bitcoin,
that
then
it
he's
was
more of a
not
hustler than I would have
received.
even ever thought. I mean, that's
But
the most
with
horrible.
economic oppression comes cultural
Appreciate you,
oppression.
Bob. Thank you very
But
much.
with micropayments in Bitcoin and second layer and third layer comes cultural expression. And so is this
Making
I
payments in
think
Bitcoin
what
is
we're saying
expressing
here is
culture.
that this very, very rich
This is like
culture will have a chance now to organize monetary.
that anybody black would be advocating we listen to Max Keiser. This is disrespectful. And if anybody's friendly with Max Keiser, they should pull him up and say, man, you need to stop talking like this to your black friends or your black colleagues, because this is disrespectful. You can express a suppressed colonized culture by payments in Bitcoin.
Other people approval for that. Like with the
or even making
banking
that
system
comment
now
that
is
if black
very
people had
complicated,
invested in crypto
basically
back in the
for
day,
African,
they would be
because
able
not
to
only
own
African
white people.
we don't
That's
have currency, but
that's
everything that we have to
disrespectful
do now,
and totally ignorant.
even a wire transfer,
Anyway.
he has to go to a France bank to pay the supplier wherever the supplier is in the world.
Right.
Whether it's in China or in the US, he has to go to France. But for them to control those markets, they make it very complicated to pay a supplier in China, which is who has a better rate, better product. So what do? You're forced now to just rely on like a French market. You can even expand. I mean, and yeah, I'm talking about buying. I'm not talking even about selling your own product. So with your wallet being controlled by somebody, you don't have nothing to say. You can control anything. They decide how much you sell your product. They decide how much you buy, whatever you want to buy. So at the end of the day, you're just working to somebody.
So Bitcoin fixes this.
Absolutely.
How?
You make you have your product. You make your price. Somebody want to buy, he buys it. If not,
well, we know
but why can't that happen now?
A very entrepreneurial country. The economy, thanks to Paxville and other companies, are doing very, very well. I wanted to change gears for a second here. So, Adam, when you read the news and you see what was happening in Canada with the truckers, and that the state suddenly came down and exerted authoritarian dictatorial powers of the Canadian government to subject their own citizens to cruelty and harsh penalties for freedom of speech. I mean, coming from Canada, that was not on my bingo card. I thought of maple sugar and the Toronto Maple Leafs, not a dictator enforcing draconian authoritarianism in Canada. And yet that's what we saw.
So we saw a lot of things in the past 2 months. We've seen Russia being deplatformed from the SWIFT network, which is very interesting if you start to learn how archaic really the SWIFT network is and what it is. And it used to work with faxes, and like, wow, this is a really dumb system, because that's not how Bitcoin works. It makes no sense. But the deplatforming, financial deplatforming, and the House of Representatives in the U.S. yesterday just passed a domestic terrorism law, which is pretty much based on the Patriot Act for non-domestic terrorists. There are going to be 3 organizations, and you speak against the government, and you can be deplatformed or arrested or whatever. But the first thing they'll do is try to deplatform you from a platform. If you're speaking, the next one is the finances.
And they've already shown that that Bitcoin isn't safe from that. Crypto isn't safe from that. And the answer to encroaching fascism isn't
what we've been doing. So let's
blockchain and cryptocurrency
for this very, very reason, because it can happen. It's clear if it can happen to sweet Canadians, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Right. Make no mistake.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, I think that realization now is becoming clear. Those people in the Bitcoin community that have been talking about this for a while, that it's unconfiscatable, this is going to be important, and there'll come a time when this becomes more important. We're at that moment now, and this is driving.
And
adoption.
Peter Thiel,
here's a kind of a philosophical
just
question.
spoke at that
Did
same
Bitcoin,
conference.
Is it reacting to the chaos, or is it causing the chaos?
That's a good one.
In other words, well, you see,
I think Bitcoin was expecting the chaos, is probably more like it. Bitcoin was there, ready for it. I mean, we know, if you look at the Genesis block, I mean, it literally says, "Hey, Gordon Brown screwed the pound." That rhymes. So it's clear what it was for, and now we're, I do the No Agenda podcast, and 5 years ago I was talking about a couple of No Agenda. There you go. I was talking about central bank digital currencies, and
right.
Like conspiracy theory, and now it's here, and it's much further than we think in many countries. Probably, there's multiple proposals. So Bitcoin was always here, almost like something in nature, and which of course it truly is. It's something natural that evolved naturally and was there to save those who wish to be saved.
Yeah, well said.
That's the talking point that the gentlemen in crypto use in our debate. They'll save only the people that deserve or want to be saved.
Torres, just a couple of days ago, said, quote, "El Salvador has made Bitcoin legal tender. The U.S. must have a plan to protect the U.S. dollar and America's financial system in case this idea spreads." So here you have.
But Max, just help me understand, because I learned everything I know about Bitcoin and money from you and from Dennis Parker and from Roy Schein, from other people. But when you look at the Green New Deal, a global agenda, which entire mission is to do away with petroleum products, is that not by definition an assault on the petrodollar? This is, to me, it's as clear as day. It's going to go away the way we know it.
All right. But again, people keep leaving out. So what is the natural resource that drives and generates and produces a majority of the electricity that is used? A bundle of a bunch of which is being used and soaked up by mining cryptocurrency. In other words, all that electric energy that's being generated for all that's not coming from solar and wind. Even though if you look at Michael Moore's Planet of the Humans documentary, even the solar and wind technology industries are fraudulent and using up as much natural resources and creating as much damage in the earth, and are not producing, they're not alternatives in the way that they promise or claim to be in any way. But even then, all the electricity being used by the crypto world isn't coming from wind and solar, which is again not itself proving to be a real alternative to the destruction of the environment, et cetera, and so forth. So that whole point he's making there doesn't make any sense. That the idea that moving to crypto is going to upset the petrodollar, upset the oil industry, and all that other kind of stuff. But this is the thing I wanted to get. So Peter Thiel, who we've talked about recently with Barrett Brown, as being connected to a whole bunch of surveillance and fascistic overlaps, intersections. Right, his intersectionality is fascism and surveillance. But at this very conference that we're seeing this video from, Peter Thiel also spoke. As I said, I watched the thing, and he did an enemies list of all the big bankers and Jamie Dimon and Larry Fink. So it creates this idea that he's in a war with you against these elite folks. But of course, he himself owns a Bayside mansion minutes away from this Miami Bitcoin conference. And his, quote, founders fund has become one of the loudest cheerleaders for Miami as it has tried to position itself as an emerging tech hub during the pandemic. Which is also heavily invested in Bitcoin. So when he gives these speeches and encourages people at these conferences through spokespeople like Max and others to get people invested in Bitcoin, he makes money. But before Bitcoin gets to something like 4.3 million a coin, the currency would, in other words, before it gets to the levels that Peter Thiel and them wanted to get to, it, quote, would need considerably further adoption driven by large institutions. So that's why Thiel is targeting all of these. And this is, okay, so wait a minute, let me back up. So I'm reading this is in Forbes magazine, by the way. Because let me back up for a quick second here. Thiel's presentation of the list, his enemies list, was the most striking moment in an otherwise straightforwardly pro-crypto, pro-Bitcoin speech given at Bitcoin 2022, a large annual gathering of crypto supporters in Miami Beach. Thiel also criticized central banks around the world, slamming them for their slow uptake on digital technology. So again, excuse my neighbor's dog, but hold on a second. That's let me see if this helps. So while Curry and Max Keiser and others are promoting Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as the solution to the central banks, they're one of their most famous fascistic cheerleaders, Peter Thiel, is giving a speech where he's critical of those so-called enemies. And I don't think I caught it this way. I'm glad I'm looking at this now. I didn't catch it when I watched it, which is why I shouldn't do that by myself. Thiel criticized central banks around the world, slamming them for their slow uptake on digital technology. The increase in Bitcoin's value over the last several years is, quote, telling us that the central banks are bankrupt, end quote. It's, quote, telling us that we're at the end of the fiat money game, end quote. Thiel has been thinking about virtual money for a while. He co-founded PayPal in 1998, then departed to run a series of investment firms, including Founders Fund. Thursday's appearance was a rare recent moment in the public spotlight. Thiel stepped away from investing and from high-profile moments like these, focusing on his efforts instead on Republican politics. But the Bitcoin 2022 conference is on his home turf. He owns a Bayside mansion a few minutes away, and his Founders Fund has become one of the loudest cheerleaders for Miami as it has tried to position itself as an emerging tech hub during the pandemic. In particular, a haven for crypto obsessives like Thiel. Thiel suggested Bitcoin's price could still increase 100 times over. It currently trades at $43,665, off more than 30% from highs reached last November. But before it gets to something like 4.3 million, that is 100 times that Thiel claims it would get to, the cryptocurrency would need to see considerably further adoption driven by large institutions, Thiel said. And that's where Buffett and the other, quote, enemies come in. They have enough clout to forestall any such shift. Thiel further framed the debate as an argument between the old anti-crypto and the young pro-crypto. It's a revolutionary moment, he said. We have to go out from this conference and take over the world. So as I'm seeing that, he's saying, while these spokespeople are out here championing the decentralization and the circumventing the big banks and institutions and the governments, Thiel is over there saying those same institutions need to do more investing in Bitcoin and blockchain technology, which would make him money, and all the major holders of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and whatever other tech is involved, they'll make more money. While Adam Curry is still on his MTV, countercultural thing, thinking like he's part of some revolutionary whatever. And Max, because I'll take Curry at his word at least, but Max may just be straight hustling.
And they're going to morph this,
so that's wild,
into some complete scriptable central bank digital currency.
Right. Well, they don't see how.
Yeah, Warren Buffett says it's rat. What is it? Rat poison.
Potential threat to the dollar. But they think a $20 to $30 billion economy in Central America adopting Bitcoin is a threat to the dollar. So that tells me that this woman, who's an American politician, has her head so far.
Well, they're full of shit. They're completely full of shit.
Yeah. She's effectively brain dead.
Yeah.
So you have a president that's brain dead. You have congressmen that are brain dead. You have senators that are brain dead, and they're financially illiterate, and they're telling us what about Bitcoin. And meanwhile, we're just buying Bitcoin because we don't want to go down the path of being brain dead asshole American politicians who don't know their ass from their elbow.
Yeah.
Right? Fuck them.
All right, but just saying "fuck you" is not
one day after
an analysis or an explanation of how this is
in a compromised state. I can win
going to work.
I'm still the baddest man on planet.
You're right on. Right on.
Oh wow.
All right, I believe you. I'm not going to risk that.
Since there's a moment here, Max, if you'd like to support your favorite podcast, go to newpodcastapps.com.
Anyway, that's a perfect time for me to drop out of that, for us to so again, yeah, Warren Buffett along, why would I buy something I can't do anything with? Yeah, Buffett and his Berkshire partner, what's his name, they're all against it. Larry Fink at BlackRock has been buying some. Jamie Dimon has apparently changed his attitude a little bit, but the point again is, from our perspective, I would think the question is, where does any of that speak to a redistribution of the wealth we're all creating? And that's what I think the theme for this morning is, all these distractions from what we need to be doing in terms of organizing and making all of these issues moot and whatever. So anyway, again, shout out to Dr. Amina. I appreciate all of you who came back to this live, and shout out to Google for shutting us down in the previous stream and reminding us of the authority of these platforms and why we need more of your support and all that other good stuff. So, click like, join, subscribe, all that good stuff. Definitely support the rest of the platform. Ear Doctor was with Sundays last night. Warrior Class was this weekend as well. In Search of Black Power dropped last week, so the remix will be back tomorrow morning. So keep supporting the channel, the network, share everything, do all the shares and all that good stuff. And I really appreciate you all coming through this morning twice and having a little bit of fun as we try to get through some of this black capitalist and cryptoganda messaging. So anyway, thanks again, everybody. We'll see you soon. Peace, like Fred Hampton used to say, because we know you're willing to fight for it. And catch you next time here at I Mix What I Like. I mix what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like, what I like.